Hey everyone, Shelby here. Welcome back to A Little Literary Love. I'm glad you are with me today because today's video is going to be another recommendations video for you, and I thought this would be perfect time since tomorrow is Friday the 13th to give you all some thrilling book recommendations. I was hoping to get 13 read in time to recommend for you all, but life happens and I just was not able to get all of the books that I planned on reading in on time. So I have about 7 books to recommend, which is okay. I was looking at the calendar. There is another Friday the 13th this year that will be in December. So maybe no promises, but maybe I can get some other books read to see if I can make another thrilling recommendations video for you for December Friday the 13th. But so we're going to get right into all of these book recommendations. The majority of them are romance, of course, because this is a romance channel. There is one book on here that is very controversial. Maybe not technically a romance, but I still really enjoyed it. So that's honestly actually going to be my first recommendation. That is going to be Pen Pal by J.T. Geisinger. Like I said, this is a very controversial book. I read it when it first came out and loved it. I loved this book, but I know a lot of people hated this book, and I understand why. If you go into this thinking that this is going to be a romance, you probably are not going to like this one. So I have seen on some places where this has been rebranded as an erotic thriller, which I think works a little bit better for this because people were upset that this book doesn't have an HEA to it. I still considered the ending of this, I was very satisfied with it. And to me, the author said this has a non-traditional HEA. To me, it still felt like an HEA, but like I said, it's not your typical happily ever after that we usually see in romance books. So just know that if you're going to pick this book up, I would not pick this up thinking it's going to be romance. There's definitely erotic elements to it. There are very spicy scenes. It's very mysterious. So this is about our female main character, and she has just buried her husband, and she is home, and there's all these different weird things that are happening in her house. So she has to call these repairmen about she thinks there's maybe a ghost in her house, and then she's getting these letters from this mysterious person in jail, and she just doesn't know what's going on. So this is a paranormal, so there are paranormal stuff in this as well. Erotic thriller, and I didn't know what was going to happen. And I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And I just really liked how this was told. There are also a lot of trigger warnings in this book too, so just also know that. I know miscarriage is one of the trigger warnings. There's also domestic abuse, domestic violence in here, and a slew of other trigger warnings, but I know those are the big ones that people are kind of upset about because I think the author originally did not post those as trigger warnings, but I had just looked on her website before starting to film this video, and she does now have those listed. So I do appreciate that she took feedback and tried to correct some of the things that people were upset about. Then we have The Hills of Shivers and Shadows by P.M. Godwin, and all of the rest of the books on this list are labeled as romances. So this one is a romantic suspense. This is the first book of the Frozen Fate trilogy. I have completed the entire trilogy this year and absolutely loved it. It's so good. So our first book starts off with our female main character. She is home and she gets kidnapped out of her home, and she is taken to this very remote place in the Arctic, and she's not sure if she's in the Antarctic or if she's still in Alaska because she's from Alaska. And she is brought to this place, and there are these 3 other men also living at this cabin. somewhere, and so this is just a big test of survival. The people living there playing like mind games with her, and then also against the wilderness of just trying to survive in this brutal environment. So I loved this series. I honestly think this is probably one of Pam Godwin's best books that she has written to date. This entire series is amazing. There are lots of trigger warnings in this one, especially this first one. There are some trigger warnings that happen later on as well. So some of them are spoilery, but Pam Godwin does a really good job of with her trigger warnings that you can go onto her website. And if you know for sure, like you have certain triggers and you just need to know if they are on there, she has some non-spoilery triggers, and then you can like click a button and go to the rest of the trigger warnings if you want some of the spoilers. One of them I will go ahead and say, because it's not a big, like it doesn't ruin some of the plot, but there is a miscarriage that happens. But then there's some others that they're pretty spoilery. So, but those are available if you go to Pam Godwin's website and look at this book. But I love the series and just how we go from one book to the next. It's definitely a suspenseful series, and they're thick books, but she has a great way of writing them that just makes you continue wanting to read. Then we have Pretty Little Teas by A.J. Merlin. This I think is also kind of a romantic suspense in a way. This is about our female main character. She is a college student. I think she's in her like last year of college, and she's needing some like extra money, so she decides to be a cam girl. And then we also have her, she's going to class. She is taking this photography class to finish up one of her electives that she needs to get done. The professor is a bit of an asshole, I'm going to be honest. And so she wants to do well so she can graduate. And so she kind of gets all like buddy with his TA. His TA is a little bit of a golden retriever kind of character, but she's also very intrigued by the professor. So she's talking to them. Meanwhile, as she's doing her cam girl stuff, she has these two people that keep commenting on her videos, and she's also very intrigued by them. And then so there's a lot of stuff going on in this first book. We also have some mysterious murders that are happening on campus, of all of these women keep getting murdered that have a really strange resemblance to her roommate. And things go from there. And it's really good. I could not put this book down. I loved it. This is the first book of a trilogy. I have not actually finished the trilogy, but I need to. But this one was amazing and I loved it. Then we have Run and Hide by Beatrix Hollow. This is another one that's the first of a trilogy that I have not actually finished, but I did really enjoy this first one. This is a monster romance, but it takes place at like a camp. Our female main character, her whole family is in the like paranormal investigation, like lots of different paranormal creatures just kind of like flock to her family. This freaks her out. She's very terrified of all of this, and so she's going on this like camping to try to get away from all of that. And of course she also has this whole like flocking of paranormal creatures to her. This ends up becoming a White Shoes romance. Not all of the members of the White Shoes end up coming up in this one. This series, so it's very like spooky type vibes. If you like monster romance, you might like this one, but this ends up becoming more of a little bit more like horror romance in places. So that was not like the second book of this series was not necessarily my thing, but I really like the setup of this first one and I really enjoyed it. So I wanted to put this one on here for any of you that like that type of book, that you might enjoy this one. Then I have Whiteout by Adriana Anders. Excuse me, I had to look at my notes. So this is another romantic suspense story. This is a romantic suspense survival story, kind of like Pam Godwin's one. So we have our two characters in this one that they are both working at this like research place in Antarctica. Yes. And then all of a sudden, the research place is attacked, and everybody is kind of like kidnapped. So this place is attacked, and they are the only two that are able to escape. So they have to escape out into the wilderness, I guess, of Antarctica to get away from these people that potentially will kill them, and then to also try to figure out why they attacked this place. So I really enjoyed this one. I just kind of like that whole like survival forced proximity type of romance. It was very suspenseful, and I really like this one. Then I have Nocticadia by Carrie Lake. This one takes a little bit of a turn from some of the other books that we've been talking about. So for the most part, we've been talking about more romantic suspense. This one is it's still like, I feel like gives that like thrilling vibe, but it is more on the spooky aspect. So this is a Gothic romance. And this has a lot of different tropes in here. Our female main character is a student at this like university, and our male main character is a professor at this university. So we have that professor student kind of dynamic. And the professor is trying to investigate this mysterious illness that is taking place, and our female character is also at this university to investigate this illness because her mother died from it, and it happens to be from this like kind of like a tapeworm of sorts. So there's like some eerie stuff going on. I think there's some murders that are happening too. And like the tapeworms, like it's kind of like morbid and like gross at times, but it just definitely like iconic, perfect Gothic type book. And it was a very, very well done book and very good. And I think it's perfect if you're wanting something thrilling. I don't know. I just feel like it really fit the vibe. And then the last book that I have to recommend to you all is going to be Dead of Summer by A.J. Merlin. So another A.J. Merlin book. A.J. Merlin tends to write a lot of thrilling, suspenseful / horror sort of type books. So this one, it takes place as another camp romance. This takes place at a summer camp. Our female main character is a counselor at this camp. She does it every summer, and this summer there is a new counselor that is there, and the very first night of camp, she is out doing like a walkthrough of the camp, and she runs into him, and he has an axe with him, and she's very thrown off by this, and starts talking to him, and he makes it known that he is there to kill everybody at this camp. And so she makes a deal with him that she will do whatever he wants as long as he doesn't kill anybody. So they come into this kind of arrangement of what is she going to do to try to satisfy his urges to save everybody at this camp. And there's some other like twists and turns to this story. Definitely have a sociopathic character, and it was very wild ride, and I think it's perfect. It definitely has a lot of those like spooky, campy horror like books and novels. Definitely has that vibe going on with it. And then it becomes like a mystery because there are some strange things that happen. And she's like, is it him doing these things, or is there somebody else doing certain things at this camp? So, but that is going to be it for this recommendations video. If you liked it, please make sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment down below with some of your favorite romantic suspense stories, because I am on the lookout trying to find some more that I can in return maybe recommend to you all. So that'll be it for this one, and I will see you on the next one. Bye, guys.